Thank you for joining us for another edition of Saint Spotlight. Today we are joined by Leo Calderon from the Thomas More class of 1980. It was recently announced by the Northern Kentucky Chamber that Mr. Calderon is the recipient of the 2022 Horizon Award as a result of his dedication, integrity, and honorable service to the Northern Kentucky region through his extraordinary community leadership. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you, David, for the invitation.
So, what was it like to come to the U.S. from Mexico and then make a home in Northern Kentucky?
Yeah. Well, I arrived in the U.S. in 1968, and I'm a product of public schools. Uh, I went to grade school in the south side of Chicago and also high school. In 1976, uh, thanks to the leadership of Thomas More, president back then, Dr. DeGraff, I believe was his name, he was able to go ahead and send an admission counselor to the neighborhood, the back of the yards area where I grew up. And I was one of those lucky ones that decided to come to to Thomas More University, and I was lucky to receive a scholarship, and and I mean that's how I I came to Northern Kentucky. And but the good thing about the south side of Chicago where I grew up, the high school, the grade school that I went to, is that they had bilingual ELL, English language learning teachers that helped with that transition. And I know with the influx of immigrants in the Northern Kentucky community, some of those communities have experienced some difficulties, but they have been able to adjust to the needs of the students by having more bilingual teachers, or should I say English language learning teachers.
As a student, how was your experience at Thomas More?
Oh, I had some very fond memories of Thomas More, college back then, university now. One of the things that I found is so appealing was the genuine hospitality from the faculty and the staff. I happened to live in the dorms the first year, and I still remember the lady who ran the dorms, Miss McClure. She was like a grandma to all of us, just very kind. And it was back then that I also met my wife, Kathy. She happened to come from Louisville, and we got married, as a matter of fact, in our second year, and had a baby, and Sarah. And however, we stayed, on course to graduate within 4 years. We even were on food stamps, David, thanks to I think it was the Clinton administration back then that allows people like me for us to receive food stamps. And thanks to that support that we were able to continue our education and provide food for our daughter. But also too, Thomas More played a critical role in giving me, for instance, the opportunity to work, particularly during the winter when we were off. I even helped paint the dorms, and that's how I was able to go ahead and receive a little bit of money to continue our education. But again, the diversity of the students, I mean, we had some international students, just a variety of students. Back then, I believe there were over 400 students living in the dorms, and the total enrollment population, I would imagine, back then was about 1,200. So that was a significant number of students living in the dorms, and it was just great moments in my life.
Have you been able to stay in contact with any of your former classmates or professors?
Oh, absolutely. Dr. Ray Bear is one of them. One thing that I did was, even though I graduated from Thomas More University, I didn't have much of a background. in Latin America. I went to Dr. Ray Baer's class, which he taught European history, and I got stuck there. To be honest with you, I began taking classes from him, and he was such a wonderful, talented faculty that you tell me about the Enlightenment Revolution, about the Voltaire, I could go and tell you a little bit about that. So I had to go and learn about my own history later on. In terms of other faculty, Paul Tarcati he's faculty at Northern Kentucky University. I see him from time to time. Rob Nader, he's also the police chief in Covington Police Department. He's a dear friend. Joe Meyer, he's also a graduate of Thomas More, as well as Chuck Shepard, and my dear friend who was my best friend in college, Tom Ham. You know, some of us stick around, and Tom is one of them, as well as people like Mark Hausfeld, that basically we began coaching soccer. So people, you know, it's a thriving community, and you get a good education at Thomas More, and you spend you know, some of your time in investing in the community and helping the community, and that's what's so wonderful about it.
Yes, and you mentioned that you found your wife here.
Yes,
yes.
Yeah, my wife, it's Kathy. She's been, now we had a total of 3 kids, and now we have 5 grandchildren, and and they're doing well in the greater Cincinnati. So it's been good. Thank you.
Can you give us a glimpse of any of your future plans post-retirement and on to the future?
Yes, I'd like to go invite the audience to our gala. We're going to have our second gala. I believe it's Friday, December the 2nd. And this will be our gala to help fund Esperanza. We also have, last year we initiated our capital campaign of $500,000 to purchase the existing building in which we're located. So that's our goal. We're also happen to receive a scholarship from the Mexican consulate out of Indianapolis. So we're also going to be giving out scholarships, 6 scholarships to 6 students, 6 $1,000 scholarships. And basically, we're going to give out 2 scholarships to Thomas More, 2 to NKU, and 2 to Gateway. So that's the plan. Thomas More, you know, our president here, Thomas More, is already on board. So I need to go and approach the other 2 institutions. But yeah, it's exciting. You know, David. You know, but like I said, you know, we need to go and pay attention to our Latino community. They, you know, in a way, it's such a marginalized community, very vulnerable, that oftentimes I think what we need to go and do is provide them with the necessary information. I don't know if you know, I don't know if you're aware of this, but the national Latino population is 18% of the youth, almost 1 out of 5. And if you look at the students who are attending public schools, kindergarten to high school, 1 out of 4. Just imagine, one out of 4 students are Latinos. So the question is that what are we doing to encourage them to go to college and so forth?
Well, it has been great talking to you, and thank you so much for being our spotlight
Thank you,
today.
David. Thank you.
Thank you.
Gracias.
Gracias.